else think that people in horror movies are just downright stupid? Like really, if I'm being chased by a masked murderer, I'm not running to some small closed off space. No, I'm heading towards a large room with multiple exit points, so no matter which door they decide to bust down with the machete, I have another good one right there. And windows, they always forget about windows. I may not be able to break through a wall, but I can bust through a window. Now I know you all agree with my carefully thought out plan and would personally like to see me put to the test, so you don't have to listen to the rest of my speech. But the scary thing is, you have no choice. Welcome to Hiding Away from Murderers. Today we'll be going over 3 basic steps. First, we'll look at how fear is cultivated and controlled in your brain. Next, we'll look at the specter/killer that's in front of you today, which is the societal expectations that cause fear in everyday life. And finally, we'll plan our escape route. Courage comes at a cost. It's much too expensive for most people, especially those horror movie characters, the little wimps. When planning your trip to Springwood, Ohio, make sure not to stay on Elm Street, or else you might be plagued by murderous nightmares. And if you tell anyone of such nightmares that incite fear every single night, you'll be called mental. Now, nightmares in horror movies are great ways to incite fear, but it can also be things such as steep stairs, honors geometry tests, or even speech tournaments. Whatever your fear may be, your brain recognizes it based on past experiences. Your prefrontal cortex and hippocampus will relate the threat to memories. Then the amygdala will activate the motor functions responsible for carrying out the fight or flight response, which includes increasing the breathing and heart rate, pumping blood to all of the muscles, and giving the bloodstream a healthy dose of adrenaline. While the following factors, context, social learning, and distractions, have a part in how we experience fear, a common theme is a sense of control, says Assistant Professor of Psychology at Wayne State University, Linda Saab. Your brain will remove all else from the spectrum of focus so it can directly target the threat at large. I should probably mention that your response to watching a horror movie is a lot different than your response to living in one. Your prefrontal cortex and hippocampus will sadly prevent the full-fledged response from occurring, which makes scaring people a lot less fun. Now that we know how fear is cultivated in your brain, we should ask the question, are we born with innate fears as well as those that we learn? We've discovered that all living beings have developed 2 fears through the process of evolution. A 1960 study by psychologist Eleanor Gibson and Richard Walk at Cornell University proved this to be true. They set up a visual cliff. They beckoned small animals and children to cross a black plain, and many would not, proving that once depth perception has developed, so does a fear of falling. Seth Norholm, a translational neuroscientist at Emory University, discovered that all living beings have an acoustic startle response, meaning that if I make a really loud noise or scream, you'll immediately duck. I would start screaming as an example, but I have to preserve your ears for the rest of my speech. Now that we know how you've developed these fears, we should probably look at your fears early in life. Have you ever seen the movie Saw? No, not Seesaw. The movie Saw, with the guy in the creepy white pig mask. I want to play a game, hee hee hee. Well, just as he used manipulation to make his subjects do things such as cut off their own feet, we've constantly been manipulated in our life through fear. Your parents used manipulation and fear to make you who you are today. You learn from your own experiences and through stories of the experiences of others. The true grim fairy tales are much scarier than some horror movies. The Boy Who Cried Wolf taught us that lying could result in you getting eaten by a wolf. The 3 Little Pigs taught that skimping through life and taking the easy way could result in you getting eaten by another big bad wolf. And finally, Hansel and Gretel taught us that being disrespectful to your parents and being greedy could result in you getting eaten by a witch. Getting eaten was a common source of fear in the minds of most children. You were taught morals and what to do by fear. That made some of the people we know today really good. I say that from personal experiences, because I think I turned out pretty well. but your fear may not yield such positive consequences today. We search through life, trying to stay in the indistinct borderlines that society has granted us. The result for conformity is being liked by everyone but ourselves. We try to fit into these groups that really don't know who we are. We'll put aside our morals just so we can be liked by others. We value the opinion of those who we view as greater or who are just our elders above our own. We've been told that ostracism is the result of an opposing opinion, which is why we'll stay silent. There are too many silent, servile people in this world, and we need to learn to speak up. When faced with difficult decisions, we'll choose our own comfort rather than helping others. This is a problem that we seriously need to solve. So now it's our time to plan our escape route. Rather than running from the source of fear, we will look into the face of it and laugh or pee ourselves. Everyone has a different reaction. Well, whatever yours may be, I'm going to teach you how to work through it. Courage is the judgment that something is worth more than fear, says James Hollingworth, a man who worked despite of his fear and became known for ages without his true name being revealed. He wrote quips and sayings that we still use today, but no one truly knew who he was. Finally, he made an impact on society despite his fear of criticism through a different method, teaching us that we can overcome our fears in different ways. I chose this topic because I want you in your life to be able to identify that voice of fear from that voice of reason. It took me years to see that my reason was truly just my fear overlapping with all the voices in my head. Finally, with the ability to distinguish it, you can judge that something is worth more than it, and that your fears may not always be absolute truth. It's just a chemical process in your brain. It's easier to understand that way. It doesn't seem so overwhelming. Being able to identify your fears will lead to a healthier mindset, reducing anxiety and stress constantly. This board here shows all the things that I fear. There's more, I gotta say. But still, I was able to pinpoint these things and identify that it's just in my mind. I may have had some bad experiences with my sister driving or my very, very, very busy schedule. But I've judged that there's so many things worth more than my fear. And going those places in the car and getting all those things done actually feels great. So my goal today was to teach you how to use your fear positively. I'm going to bring in an example. This is my friend here, Dr. Bones. He used to be a very, very silent person. He barely spoke at all, mostly because he's a set of plastic bones. But then he learned how to use his voice for good, because he no longer had fear. He still had that willpower to do what is right. So the next time you're persuaded into conformity, choose your own happiness. The next time you're told to change your likes and interests, prioritize your individuality. And finally, when asked to play a game by a guy in a creepy white pig mask, prioritize your sanity. Whatever your fear may be, know that it is overcomable. Don't be that stupid horror movie character that gets killed in the first 5 minutes. Be the smart one that makes it to the final scene. Whatever your fear may be, you have the opportunity to overcome it by judging that something is worth more than it. The backlash may be too strong, but go ahead and scare them with your willpower. And when you're about to move into some creepy old house, make sure to check the background of the location and prepare for what fears may come. Next, if you meet that scary specter face to face, introduce yourself. And finally, if you rejected your offer for friendship and a hug, politely ask to be excused. even though your amygdala is flashing red lights and everything you've ever learned is telling you to run. Remain calm and congratulate yourself. Some people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you, not anymore. Thank you.